It's a short, simple word: no. But for some people, it's extremely difficult to use nonetheless. Especially so-called people pleasers have difficulty saying no to the people they intend to please, which is a shame. Because the ability to say no not only helps us to not do things that we don't want to do, it's also a deciding factor whether or not we're able to commit to a task and to achieve certain goals. Moreover, the word no helps us to stick with our values and principles. In the word no lies great power, and in order to wield this power, it's essential to see the workings of no and how applying no more frequently and in the right ways can make our lives better. This video explores the power of no. Assuming that we've got at least a certain degree of free will, the choices we make can be reduced to a play between two words, yes and no. From this binary point of view, saying yes to something always means saying no to something else. And deliberately saying no to something else enforces our pursuit of a certain yes. In the latter case, we make a commitment, meaning that we decide to focus on a task and stay loyal to it for a given amount of time, or even until death. A great example is a commitment to marriage. Unless it's an open marriage, by saying yes to it, we automatically say no to infidelity. Even though for some people saying no to infidelity isn't hard to do. For some, it's truly a sacrifice. But by saying no consistently, no matter how much potential pleasure we reject by doing so, we can enjoy something that in many cultures is considered sacred, a bond between two people, which could be a beautiful thing. But of course, being a bachelor can be a beautiful thing too. For many, enjoying freedom, spending time alone, not having to take someone else into account, could be considered sacred as well. Maintaining this lifestyle also requires us to say no, not just to romantic relationships, but also to social norms. The power of no is the pillar that upholds the sacred. When the pillar is destroyed, that sacredness collapses. That's why, if Adam and Eve would have used the power of no, they could have left that apple alone, and they would still be living in paradise. Eternal sin resembles what many of us do. We're unable to say no to quick pleasures, and thereby we destroy the chances of obtaining what we truly want in the long run. Hence, if you don't sacrifice for what you want will be your sacrifice. Saying yes opens doors and opportunities, but saying no sets boundaries that protect our yeses. A Buddhist says no to cravings for external things, to end the suffering that this brings. An athlete says no to unhealthy ways of life to excel in sports. An entrepreneur says no to distractions in order to focus on building a business. No, in many cases, means no to ourselves, to be stronger than our cravings, to postpone pleasure or to even reject it completely, to give up one dream so we can make another one come true. Thus, mastering ourselves means mastering the power of no. At least as important as saying no to our own desires is saying no to the desires of other people. Our inability to say no makes way for other people to exploit us, to hijack our time, to make us jump on their bandwagon, and thus make them the masters of our fate. When we say yes to them, it's likely that we say no to ourselves and put ourselves in the service of someone else's yeses. Thus, we say no to our own dreams to fulfill those of someone else. Or we help someone not because we want to, or because helping them aligns with our values, but simply because we cannot say no. Saying no to other people isn't easy. We are conditioned to do what people say, to conform to other people's wishes, to follow the herd, to put our own needs and wishes aside for someone else. Also, we might have experienced resistance when we say no, in the form of arguments or even anger. People might give us the cold shoulder after we don't fulfill their requests, or threaten to end the relationship if we don't do what they want. But do we really want to maintain an exploitative friendship because of our need for people to like us? Do we really want to stay in an abusive relationship because we're afraid to be alone? It sounds ridiculous, but the fear of being disliked or abandoned is often a reason why people are afraid to say no. However, those who truly care about us will respect our no, while the users and abusers will disappear. Saying no, therefore, is a great filter when it comes to relationships. The downside is, however, that it's often uncomfortable, painful, and it even makes us feel guilty. Still, refusing to go through these discomforts that come with saying no can have terrible consequences in the long run. Not only do boundaries get violated, our time wasted, and our needs unmet, we also run the risk to become resentful. We might become angry at the people that seem to control our lives. And when we realize that they do it because we let them, we become angry at ourselves as well. The latter also happens when we keep screwing up saying no to stupid life choices and are more and more gravitating to an existence that we don't want, which is a product of saying yes to a lot of things, but never to that one thing that we really, really want. Then we quickly realize that the only way to get out of this rut is by embracing that little word called no, so we can escape that abusive relationship, toxic friends group, cult, ideology, habit, addiction, or whatever holds us back from leading a more fulfilling life. No is a complete sentence. This means that we're not obligated to explain our no to anyone, although in some situations it might be better to do so. But ultimately, it's up to us to decide if we can live with the consequences of a firm no without further clarification. As adults, we're entitled to say no, regardless of other people's reactions. This is the blessing that comes with being responsible for our own actions. In a world that's totally out of control, our actions are the only things that we do control. Why should we put others in charge of the one and only thing that's in our power? Thank you for watching.